want to give a special thank you to Phantom Wallet for hosting this great event. Let's give a hand for Phantom Wallet. Absolutely fantastic hosts. And without further ado, I'm actually going to let Phantom Wallet take it over, give an official invite to Ian, and we'll rock out. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, firstly, thanks for coming. I know that it's a weekend and a lot of you have things to do, but you decided to come, so you care. It's very good that cryptocurrency and blockchain community in Dubai is getting bigger and bigger, and it's such a pleasure to have people from different kind of countries to come just for event. And this month was quite full with all kind of blockchain summits, conferences, but I think this is the special one because one of the main influences in the blockchain industry, in the cryptocurrency industry is here for the first time, and for the first time the 100X team is over here as well. We are from our side, Phantom Wallet and the Bistox Group are inviting the 100X team over here in Dubai for the first time. We are hosting them, showing them the city, the opportunities of UAE, and how Dubai is implementing new technologies into everyday life. So what Phantom is about? Phantom is a simple multi-currency wallet for everyday usage. To let you understand, the simplicity of a usage is as simple as going to a grocery. You can just easily go to the grocery and just buy a voucher. Then you can easily redeem the voucher on your wallet and do whatever you want. Send it in your back at your home country with the 0.1% fee, which is like 10 times cheaper than any existing payment system. And or you can just buy, store, or shapeshift your cryptocurrency from one to another. Also seamless, so fast and so quick, so you don't have to use a complicated interface of exchanges. This is that simple. So what we're trying to do, we're trying to make mass adoption of cryptocurrency, to let normal people, simple people that never been in this industry understand that it's not scary. It's just the matter of your own research. So please welcome the guy which is always advising do your own research, Ian Balina over here in Dubai.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, ARUT. Dubai. Wow. Thank you so much for being here, guys. As you guys know, we've been traveling the world, and now we're finally here in Dubai. I've been getting so many messages from people all over the world saying, Ian, when are you coming to Dubai? When are you coming to Dubai? But now we're here, and all this was made possible to people like you, Crypto Family. Thank you so much to ARUT, Phantom Wallet. So I just want to give a few quick shout-outs, right? So Shihab and your entire crew, please stand up. Actually, come here on stage. These guys made so much possible, right? I know Shihab was a friend of Diego, and when they heard we're coming to Dubai, they made so much happen. ARUT also, please come here on stage as well. I mean, this guy's made so much possible, right? And the whole reason we travel the world is to meet people like ARUT and Shihab and their whole network and our network here face-to-face in person, right? Because I believe really to maximize your fullest potential, you have to really meet people face-to-face. That's one thing I learned from working at IBM for 4 years in sales. Talking to somebody on the phone in video does not really equate to talking to somebody face-to-face in person, right? And now I feel like we have family here for a long time, right? With that being said, though, also want to say thank you to our sponsors. You guys know I'm now an official KuCoin Global Ambassador. So KuCoin is really helping sponsor the world tour. So thank you to KuCoin. Then with 100X Advisors, my entire team, this is the first time the entire team is in one city. The entire 100X team is in one city. So please come on the stage. Costa, all the way from Australia, Melbourne. And our newest member of 100X, all the way from Spain, Marbella, Spain. Mike, please come on up. Now, I have a quick statement to say about Mike, right? People say, hey, Ian, we want to do business with you. How do we do business with you, right? As you guys know, I'm a public figure now. I get pitched so many different times. Probably especially at events like this, 10, 20 times. how do you do business with somebody? How do I do business with you, right? Mike is the first person to join 100X who was not officially in the initial founding group. And he basically earned his way there, right? And the reason I chose Mike, I met him first time in Stockholm at our Stockholm World Tour. He traveled all the way from Marbella, Spain, in a flight to come to Stockholm to our meetup. After the meetup, he stayed, joined us for dinner. I was like, okay, you know what, cool guy. He said, hey, Ian, come to Marbella, Spain. I want to host you. At first, I was like, yeah, that's cool, but I don't know, right? I was kind of acting busy, playing hard to get. But then after that, Mike kept on following us on the world tour, right? He came to Paris. He came to a Paris stop. We were there for, 2-3 days, hanging out, getting to know each other with the whole crew. He came to Prague, Crypto World Tour, spending his own money to come to the events. Not pitching me, not trying to sell me his ICO or investment or whatever, right? Just coming, hanging out with us, just being friends. Then after 3 times, I was like, okay, you know what? This guy's taking time out of his busy schedule to hang out with us. Then you invited us to Marbella, Spain for a week. He organized everything, went there. We actually filmed our Crypto Slowdown music video there. It's already done. Not live yet because we're waiting for the market to get better, right? But this guy was an amazing host in Marbella, Spain. And initially, I didn't really like my first experience in Spain. Hanging out with this guy, it was amazing, right? Then from there, what's the next place you came to? Budapest, no, it was Ibiza. Then Ibiza. And then after that, he said, Ian, you know what? I want to come see you again. He flew all the way from Spain to Dubai. And I was like, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. This guy is taking time out of his busy schedule to fly all over the world to hang out with us. And I was like, I like this guy. We're good friends. I like hanging out with him. I like doing business with him. I was like, let me find a seat for him on the table, right? And after doing all of that, prior to doing all of that, this guy has achieved so much in his own life, right? This guy sold his last company to Airbnb, right? He's an all-star in my book, all-star, right? And I just want to say this, man. You're an awesome friend, man. Awesome friend. All right. All right, then let's welcome Diego on the stage. So Diego, same thing with Diego, right? Met you first time. Diego's my brother, man. Hermanos. Met him the first time, hanging out. He came to us on the South America Crypto World Tour, stayed there the whole trip, came to us in Europe World Tour, and I was like, you know what? You're a close friend. I like doing business with you, and let's make this happen. Then let's introduce Ugo. Ugo is my brother from another mother. I've known Ugo for over 12 years, since freshman year in college. I met him in chemistry class. He was the guy who was acing the class. I was like, how do you do it? And ever since then, we stayed in touch, got on crypto together, and now we're here in Dubai together. Then let me introduce Sam MONAC. Welcome, Sam. So Sam is my official ICO analyst. Full-time, he covers my spreadsheet. All right, so while I'm busy traveling the world, he helps me score ICOs, right? And same story with Sam. People say, hey, Ian, I want to intern with you. I want to work with you. How can we make this happen? So the story behind Sam, he emailed me one time, wanted me to intern under me. And I said, I don't know if I really want to intern right now, right? But I was like, you know what? I need admins for Telegram. So will you please be my admin for Telegram? He's like, sure, why not? So he was my admin for Telegram for what, 6-7 months, right? Did a good job. He had a good background in business from college. Had just recently graduated college. And after things were getting more busy, and I had to really get somebody to help me manage my spreadsheet, I was like, who do I want to help me do this? Because he had the training from school, plus he had the experience in my community and really looking at what I was trying to build, right? So I said, you know what? Let's try this out as an experiment. And it's been working amazingly well, right? So glad to have you here, Sam. All right. Then we also have my other Telegram admin, Ricardo. Where are you? Come on up, man. Come on up, man. Ricardo has been based here in Dubai for a long time, you know, and he was part of my community. Reached out to me, said, hey, Ian, you know what? I want to help you with the community, managing it. And he's done a great job. Met him in person in Prague or Budapest? Budapest. And now he's here in Dubai, and we're going to have a good time tomorrow on my birthday. And then we have Drew and Dan, all the way in the back. Actually, yeah, come on up. We'll have Drew come on up. Who's heard all the songs? Moon Lambo, Crypto Family. I mean, Drew's the guy making it all happen. Our creative director. Amen. And then we have Dan Figure in the back. And then, so, quick story on Dan. Quick story on Dan, right? You guys will notice a pattern here on who I have around me. Right? Dan's my official executive producer. All the amazing videos he makes, him and Justin, who I'll get to shortly, make it happen. But do you know how I met Dan? At my second ever meetup in New York City. Back when it was 10, 15, probably 10 people. It was a happy hour. He actually came to pitch me an ICO. He was working for some other ICO. Right? I didn't really care about the ICO, but I liked his work, right? So I ended up taking him away from the ICO, and now he's working with me, traveling the world, making good content. He's an all-star in his own right. Prior to this, he was making videos for 7 years with the Black Eyed Peas, following will.i.am, Fergie, all over the world. And he just had a great body of work. And I knew I wanted to take this to the next level, and I had to work with him. So I figured out a way, and now he's here, and now we're making amazing content. Thank you, Dan. And then Dan, who was friends with Justin from college, and he was an all-star in his own right. When the content got too much for Dan, we brought in Uncle Justin over here. And he's the guy making all the live streams and videos happen. A great guy in his own right. All right. Did I forget anybody else? Sorry. I think we got... All right. So why did I go through that long intro? Because this is the first time all of us are here in the same place. Because this is a global team all over the world. But now we're here in person. So just wanted to say thank you guys for making this happen and taking 100x advisors and making something that's possible to a point now we're really a global company. Thank you guys so much. And thank you guys for being here. All right. Let's have you guys, the panelists, stay on stage. All right, let's start the show, guys.
So I'm going to be moderating the panel with all these guys. So I guess I'll start with the first question.
Hold on. Sorry. We have some new people here on stage, so maybe let's have Paul do a quick intro. Sorry. Here.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and thanks for coming over. My name is Paul, and I'm heading the NEM Foundation activities here in the Middle East, basically.
All right, thank you. Glad to have NEM here.
So I'm going to start with the questions now, everybody. So the first question is, we've seen some very successful ICOs come out over the last few years from different regions of the world, but there's not been any larger ICOs from the Middle East. Do you think this has something to do with the fact that there are less IT companies in the Middle East, or other reasons?
Well, my name is ARUT. I already introduced myself. So when we're talking about Middle East, we have to understand that Middle East is not about only economy. It's not about only technology. It's also about traditions. And the tradition is that basically people over here are really into following the rules. And it's been a long time since the community, the public are waiting for the proper regulation on ICOs and regulation and roadmap and framework, how the ICO is supposed to act here in Middle East. And I consider Dubai and UAE like the leaders in technology in the Middle East, and I don't think somebody can say something about it. That's 100% true, because a lot of innovations are happening here in Dubai and UAE mostly, and we know it. And number one innovation is the security, and we know that this is one of the safest city in the world. And the city is one of the safest just because of the traditions and just because of the people that are following the rules and regulations. So I think everything will change from the first quarter of 2019 because it's promised that we will have a proper regulations on ICOs, how to consider them. And I think the government will be considering ICOs like a security offering. So once we'll have a proper understanding on the laws, then I think we will have a next ICO star from Middle East.
Yeah, adding on to that, yeah, it's true that the regulatory is not quite clear yet, but that doesn't mean that there are no projects coming out of the Middle East, because as we all know here in Dubai, that there has been a mandate that the Dubai government will be fully powered by blockchain by the year 2020, and moving forward to 2021, they're targeting the entire UAE to do that as well. So I think maybe ICOs are less, but the projects are out there. It doesn't go out to the media as it does in other countries, but they're out there, and the government is pioneering that. We actually have signed a government project last week with the Ministry of Community Development, and it's a step forward to taking not just the ICO, but the blockchain adoption here in the Middle East.
Yeah, to add on to that as well, two big companies, Consensus and Hyperledger, are actually here in Dubai. So I would definitely say Dubai is making the shift towards implementing blockchain. I'm thinking they're going to kind of focus more on the private blockchain side before probably the public blockchain side.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you guys for coming out. My name is Diego Lara, managing partner at 100X Advisors. So basically, from an outside perspective, I don't really know the market here in Dubai as well as obviously the locals, right? But it just seems to me like Dubai is more of an investor's hub rather than a technologically development hub, right? But my suggestion would be to continue doing a very in-depth research on ICOs, maintaining that strength in this criteria. That way, there's prevention with scams, and obviously, one of the most important factors in this space is the sentiment, the overall cryptocurrency sentiment. So as long as that stays positive, the opportunities are limitless.
All right. So I think this actually goes to a further question of ICO investments, token appreciation, and the ROI investors get. And I'll tell you why. I feel like all the projects that have really made a lot of money for investors have really become an evangelist for that country, right? So imagine Korea. I feel like when Icon did 100X, it really, the euphoria and the news, the word of mouth, the free viral marketing they were getting really helped almost put Korea on the map, right? And I think, especially this year, the same thing Pundi X did for Indonesia, right? I feel like with the way Pundi X as a project has performed, it's really evangelized Indonesia as a hub for blockchain innovation. And then last year, same thing with Paraledger in Australia. So I feel like those big wins really help evangelize a country as a whole. And I feel like, at least to my knowledge, I haven't really known any big win yet from an ROI perspective from investors, not just local investors, but global investors, people who are not in Dubai. So I think when there's that big win, that big 10x, 20, 50x, 100x or more project from Dubai, that will really put Dubai on the map. Now, with that being said, I still know that Dubai is really innovating a lot in the Middle East, right? I know there's the blockchain center, and they're really trying to get people to come here and innovate. And I'm looking forward to just really learn more about what they're doing here with our innovation for next year.
All right, I'm going to move on to the next one. So basically, I haven't really seen many projects come out of the Middle East in the research that I do. I look at maybe 50 ICOs a week, and I haven't seen anything come out thus far out in the Middle East, so I'll be excited when I finally do.
And that's why we also have the ICO pitch competition, right? Because we're willing to travel the world to find projects and give them an opportunity to pitch here, right? So we do have 2 good ICOs here ready to pitch. Looking forward to see who the winner will be.
All right, so the next question is it's about transparency. So the crypto market's much more open to the public than other traditional markets like banking. So what do you guys have as an opinion on transparency in this space?
in terms of transparency of transactions, we can say that banking is not that transparent as crypto. But in terms of making a business, I believe there is no transparency in crypto market at all. Let's say there is 100% of projects. We can say only 1.5% is fully transparent and understandable from business side. I mean, why do I say so? Just as much as you're researching the ICOs, we're researching our competitors, because the competition is something which is making you be more powerful. So when you're researching the market, how many exchanges do you know? There are a couple of exchanges that we really understand. They have proper business. They have proper business model, offices. We know their CEOs. We know their working stuff. We know where to go in case of a problem. Just a couple of exchanges, like KuCoin, it's Coinbase, and Binance. The rest, there are 150 of them. The rest we just don't know because they're shifting from one office to another. I do understand there are security reasons, but we're investing money in this kind of entities, and we need to understand what they do behind the doors. That's why cryptocurrency is not adopted yet, because there is a business model which is totally understandable and acceptable for people over my age, or like over 30s, over 40s, that people that need some stability. People need to know who is behind the door, what are they doing, can we see their reports. This is very important. Otherwise there is no future of them in the market. And I do really think now we have a trend of security tokens. Having this trend is meaning a little bit more than just a hype. It means that a lot of ICOs, startups, are going to registration in SEC. That means that they are not under the radar. They would like to be on the scene, showing their papers and the business model. It's good. So what else we have? We have another trend, the stable coins. Stable coin is something which is making crypto market working together with banks. So this is another step for the massive adoption and for pure understanding of crypto. I think crypto is seamlessly making a step to a transparency. All we have to do, just support that kind of project that are not scared, not afraid to go public, to speak about their problems, about their advantages, about their features. Sometimes people call scam just a project because they didn't follow the roadmap, or just because they didn't release something on a date. Well, it's a business, guys. Anything can happen. I would like to see a business which is always going on a roadmap point by point. It's very rare. You have to understand. And by the way, the business can be closed just because of bad management. It doesn't mean that it's a scam. It can be just a bad management. It doesn't mean that the people are stealing the money. It's just because they don't know how to manage the funds. That's why when you're researching your ICO, please take care of a team, because the team is very important, because the team will be managing that funds and the team will be releasing and executing the project. I mean, this is very important on my side.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. My point of view is blockchain in general was literally created for transparency. Now, it's no secret that there's ways around this current ecosystem because there's no real regulation implemented currently right now. However, blockchain is the blockchain network. Once you input data onto the blockchain, there's no way to go back in there and alter any of the data, right? So the infrastructure of blockchain itself is transparency. So I think that it's definitely something that once regulation is implemented, we're going to put some twitches onto the transparency factor, and the blockchain is going to be extremely effective in many ways, right? Microtransactions, macro transactions, enterprise transactions. It can definitely solve many issues.
Yeah, I just agree to that, to what they say. It's one of the heart why blockchain is created is for transparency itself. But yeah, there are still ways that people can try to find a way around it. And as ARUT said, the team behind it will make it even more transparent. It's all about the humanity of the people who are running the project itself. Are they really running it for some idea to solve a real life problem, or just solve their own problems? Because that's the bottom of it all. It's transparent, but there's still a way to hide some things if you want to. And laying it all out in the open will be on the discretion of the team behind the projects itself.
Yeah, for me, I would definitely say blockchain is built on the premise of transparency, but kind of looking at institutions and businesses. Think about a supply chain company. Would they really want the public knowing everything? I feel like in the future, blockchain is going to have kind of a hybrid where the regular use is going to be transparent, microtransactions and everything. But for institutions to come in, there will also be private blockchains like Hyperledger that can handle, big time supply chain and things like that. So I do think there's going to be a hybrid, but it's going to be a lot more transparent than the current financial system. So it definitely be a step forward.
I would have to agree. So I think when people speak about blockchains, they kind of categorize it as just this one piece of technology. But I feel like there are different categories of blockchains available out there. And I do think transparency and privacy do definitely have conflicts. I don't think it's really good to achieve both. But then at the same time, I don't really think you can become a maximalist for transparency and privacy, right? That's why, for example, if you look at the internet, we have the internet, then you also have the intranet, right? For enterprise companies or companies that want to have an internet and all the features of that, but still have it private. So I feel like having a blockchain, do you have both privacy? I think privacy is still something, because that is also one of the ethos of blockchains, right? Being able to have privacy and not really have a government, middleman, or bank in the control of your transaction and money and payment systems and any kind of peer-to-peer transactions, while still also having transparency and having everything out there on the blockchain. I think that's why we've really evolved to two models right now, having both permissioned and permissionless blockchains, right? So those that are more kind of similar to the old internet model of the internet, but for the blockchain, kind of like Eden Chain, for example. Then you also have the public blockchains where everything's out there that's public, but you also have the privacy blockchains, Monero as well, right? And actually today we have a privacy project pitching, right? So I think it's good to have both, and I don't think it's really a one bag fits all. I think it's good to have multiple categories of blockchains. So I don't really think I can really say transparency is better than privacy. I think it depends on the use case.
All right, so we're going to move on to the next one. So ARUT talked a little bit about this with stablecoins, but we've seen many trends in the market, from dApps to protocols to exchanges to stablecoins. I know Ian is most excited about protocols. But which trends do you guys think will be the future?
Yeah, I'll definitely start. I would say stablecoin has a very use case when you think about the depreciation, some currencies that have been devaluing, like the Turkish lira as well as Venezuelan currency. I feel like Bitcoin, with how volatile it is, I don't think Bitcoin is really the answer for replacing a complete country's monetary system. I would say I can see stablecoin kind of being the new thing that can possibly replace a country's currency. Obviously, the infrastructure is not there yet because Ethereum, the more transaction you do, the higher the fees. So that's not really sustainable. But I think if you can figure out a blockchain infrastructure where that's not a factor, I think you can definitely see a proliferation of stablecoins.
Yeah, I think the market is always transitioning, right? If we look back maybe December 2017, the Ethereum network was getting clogged up with a dApp. And so there was need for scalability, right? And I think that issue currently is, I wouldn't say the market is oversaturated with high-speed smart contract blockchains, but there's definitely a more stable infrastructure with scalability. I would say the next trend right now that we should focus on is decentralized exchanges, because we must remember that exchanges act currently in the cryptocurrency as pretty much the bank, right? So there must always be a balance with governance and decentralization. We can't forget that what made this ecosystem so special in the first place was the power of decentralization. And then stablecoins is obviously very important, just to give institutional investors and retail investors in general just the confidence to invest into a market that is at the moment a little dangerous because of the volatility.
Well, there are some complications in decentralized applications. There was a trend before GDPR compliance law was out. Now we understand that decentralized applications are going to fail unless they will find a way not to put the personal data on a blockchain, because it's immutable, and once it's immutable, it falls under the compliance GDPR law. And it's not a trend, but it's going to be like a bad trend in 2019, because all of the projects that we invested before 17, 16, the decentralized apps, now are going to face this problem. And it's not a big talk about it right now, just because the law is not working that crucial. But once one of the applications will be sued for $20 million, that's the fine, by the way, then we will see the downtrend of most of the decentralized applications, because there is no way to change it unless they're going to change the protocol, and that's where the trend is. The protocol, well, Ian is very interested in protocols. It's quite understandable, because protocol is used in decentralized exchanges. This is the protocol which is helping to shift one coin to another, to store and to transfer. This is all going through protocol. It's not going through just through the blockchain. And people have to understand that. And again, the protocol will help to make the decentralized applications less complicated, more scalable, and not to have the most of a bio data on the blockchain. So that's where the semi-decentralization coming. That's where, again, the protocol is. And let's not underestimate the power of this kind of protocols, because the 2019, on my opinion, will be a year of wars between one protocol and another. Because right now we see a couple of really nice players like Loopring, like Kyber Network, etc. We're implementing our own protocol also in the summer 19, which is called Transa. So it will be a big competition, because most of the players from decentralized apps till the decentralized exchanges will be fighting to get the proper protocol which will be scalable enough. That's what I think.
Now, I think the crypto market as a whole is always evolving, or is adapting almost every 3 to 6 months. You start to notice trends. And I think the trend last year was protocols over dApps. And I think maybe earlier this year, it kind of began to shift more towards exchanges. Yeah, lots of people really getting into exchanges, brand new exchange ICOs. And now I feel like right now in this current market, it's really starting to shift towards stablecoins. Right? There's been so much news, so much FUD on Tether, and whether or not this can really be a stablecoin for the masses. And now you start seeing lots of different stablecoins coming up there, from Gemini, from Coinbase, and all of them are really trying to kind of push this as the future, right? For maybe even raising funds via an ICO, as opposed to raising funds via Ether, which fell from over $1,200 to now just $200. What if you could raise those funds via stablecoin, right? So I feel like stablecoin right now is the new hot trend. Me personally, I haven't really been bullish on a stablecoin at the moment or yet. The last one I was Haven. I was part of the ICO, but pulled out last minute, and that didn't really fare so well. Right? So I'm glad I didn't invest in that. And I think stablecoins is something that has to be solved for this space. So I think it is a topic that has to be solved long term. But in terms of, is this something I would personally invest in right now? Probably not. I still like to focus on protocols, right? Because right now the data shows those have been the best investments from an ROI perspective.
I can't comment on that because we have different kinds of projects running on them, and I might get screwed by one of them if I say that one is my favorite. But on my personal opinion, stablecoin would be a good place to move things forward, because as we all know, it's always the financial market has been hard to like adapt onto this trend. And until now in the World Economic Forum, it's still being talked about that they're kind of shying away from this technology. So letting them understand via the stablecoin might be a good way to bring us forward even more.
Yeah, so I think we definitely need a fast stablecoin in crypto so that people can keep all their money on the blockchain and they don't have to, take the money out and to put it back in, taxes and regulation and everything. So it's definitely important, but from my research, I haven't seen any stablecoin that I think is really going to be great from an ROI perspective. So we've mostly been looking into protocols recently. So I guess moving to the next question. So, what do you guys think about crypto taxes?
The question no one wants to answer.
I plead the fifth.
I'll start first. All right, all I can say is, as an American, the whole global territorial tax has not been friendly to us. All right, my 2017 taxes were definitely the largest I've ever had to pay, and it really opened my eyes up to, I would say, tax planning, just more efficient tax planning. Right. For example, all the times I was taking profits on ICOs, thinking I was making bank, then realizing in the States, they tax you for every trade. Every time you're going from one currency to a different currency, right? So that's basically short-term capital gains tax, right? So now going forward, I've really become more of a hodler, right? So I sell less, I'm more patient, because I realize every single time I buy and sell, it's a taxable event. So I ask myself, do I really want to take profits now? Do I really need the money now? Or can I be more patient, right? And then also just kind of doing more research on just tax planning, right? And I think, in a way, it's kind of unfair, but I'm not really one to complain, right? How each country has different taxes, but that's kind of more of what happens, right? But actually, ironically, I haven't really said this. I did explore possibly not being an American, right? Because I became American last year, and I was like, because the co-founder for Facebook, right? He ended up going to Singapore, and I was like, should I do this? Because I was like, they're taxing me a lot. I was like, what's a better way? But after looking into it, there's like some kind of penalty, I think like 5-year tax penalty either way, right? And I said, you know what? I mean, I love being in America. I've traveled the world over 35 countries in my lifetime. I love traveling the world, but I mean, I love being in America, right? And when you go back there as a non-American, things can be different, right? So it is something I've looked into very deeply, right? But I definitely do pay my taxes, right? All the FUD out there is FUD. I do pay my taxes, and I cry when I pay them.
Yeah, so it's an interesting topic. I think what Ian mentioned is extremely, extremely important, and something that most of us kind of neglect or just are not aware of. But every trade on Binance, KuCoin, or any major exchange, it is a taxable event. So for some investors and traders, what may be a profitable trade can actually lead to losses if you don't consider your tax bracket. There are options to plan via Puerto Rico and other just setting up entities. So I would definitely get informed and hire a very good CPA to handle your taxation.
Oh, and guys, quick statement. Should go without being said, oh, this is not financial advice.
Yeah.
Not tax advice. Definitely consult a financial tax plan and lawyer prior to all this. This is just our opinions.
You just gave a roadmap, man, to people. So if you don't consider to go to Puerto Rico, well, what has been good is that recently that Uzbekistan, that's where I was born, that's my national country. So Uzbekistan just recently released a law that anybody who is attending for a crypto license will not be taxed, well, like zero taxation for the upcoming 5 years. And then they're going to regulate it. So what I think just governments has to go forward towards proper regulation and proper taxation. Yeah, I do understand that the taxation in the United States is huge, so I believe in other countries just have to consider it and make it a little bit different to make people not scared of paying, because I'm not paying tax on crypto just because there's no regulation, and I'm not American. That's why I'm not crying at the end of the year. But this time will come when I will have to pay a tax for my crypto. So I believe it just this time will come in each and every country. All we have to do just to make proper steps towards understanding and helping to the government as we can to make a proper decisions on taxation. That's what I think.
Yeah, to add on that, I definitely think the tax rule is a little confusing at the moment, but as the industry continues to mature, I think there's going to be definitely more framework. So my advice would definitely be to find a financial tax planner, someone that does this for a profession, just to kind of stay on the safe side.
I think it could help. Okay, it could help bring regulatory laws to come up with different countries, because right now, yeah, it's not clear with different countries. But I think putting that or having the framework of a crypto taxes will be able to bring crypto into mass adoption even more, because government will be welcome of it already if they get something out of it as well. But I just hope that it doesn't make us cry, only sad. It's fine making us sad, but not cry. It has to be fair for everyone. Fair for them and fair for us as well as users.
All right, well, so another trend that I've seen is the move towards privacy coins. How is the government supposed to tax a privacy coin if the coin is all, you can't actually see any transaction being made? So I don't know how the government's going to tax that, and what's that going to mean for the future of cryptocurrency when the government can't actually control it?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a tough stance, especially for the governments, different governments to offer guidance. All right, but what I've been advised based on my CPAs is to just voluntarily file your taxes, right? So just kind of honor code, basically, right? Maybe hard for people to do, but I know for me as a public figure, I kind of have to do that because I'm in the spotlight.
One day you will need a Lambo, so you will have to pay tax.
All right. Okay, we're going to move to the next question, or the final question. So what is it going to take for mass adoption of cryptocurrency?
Well, it's been so difficult in 2017 to buy Bitcoin. I don't know if you guys tried to do it in December, but me, myself, I remember how I was helping people to buy Bitcoin in 2017 in December, and it took me a week to find a proper seller, really. And it was hard to deposit anything on exchanges because me, myself, I was under KYC in Bitfinex around 7 months. 7 months to be verified, and then like another 2 months to accept my deposits. So I tried to deposit a couple of times through Bitstamp. Then first Bitstamp asked me where my money from. When I proved where my money from, then my bank just closed my bank account for sending the money. So it's definitely not something which will bring to mass adoption. What it will bring to mass adoption is to make people use crypto for what it was made for. It was made for transferring the funds, for storing the funds, not for just making tons of money on as ROI. That's good that we made some money in December. That's beautiful, and I hope we will have this bull run again. But the thing is that the community needs to support the projects that are fully transparent, working fair and face-to-face with their customers. This is very important. And the second thing is that when buying Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency will be as easy as buying a coffee. Once it will be that way, once you can easily go to the grocery store, use your mobile phone, and pay just for your milk and bread, that's where the mass adoption is. Because guys like us, like ladies and gentlemen who are in crypto, how many of us? Like 1% out of everyone? 1%. It's not too much. It's not much at all. So we need to reach out to people that had never heard about it or heard, just scared to go in, and let them understand that crypto is not scary. It's fast. It's immutable and quite interesting. Was it Satoshi is calling, I think. Yeah, trying to agree with me. So I think it should be that easy. You should go to a grocery store and buy a Bitcoin or buy something with a crypto. That's where the mass adoption is. That's my opinion.
I agree 100% with you. The gaming industry is very huge, right? In cryptocurrency, a lot of the primary developers that are developing blockchains, protocols, actually come from a gaming background. So I think a killer dApp that can be massively used in a decentralized format is definitely a way to get users onto this beautiful ecosystem. But on top of that, I think microtransactions are the way to go. Once you open up the gates to microtransacting, it's definitely going to be a game changer. Now, currently right now, we're seeing the infrastructure being built, it's in progress. So for example, we have a company like PunDX currently distributing hardware, partnering up with governments, and partnering up with different cryptocurrencies to be used as a form of transacting. So when you're able to buy a coffee, when you're able to just simply buy a TV, this is really what's going to be the primary impulse towards just massive global adoption. So microtransactions would be my opinion.
For me, I would definitely say it would be a killer app, and most likely going to be games. When you think about how, the community involved in playing games, imagine a scenario where people can actually gain rewards for playing games. I think currently there's no infrastructure in place to build like a big game, and the big gaming companies haven't really seen a reason to do that. But I feel like when people can get rewarded for playing games, not being professionally, I think that would definitely lead to a different era and definitely mass adoption.
I think I agree to what ARUT had said, that it all boils down to bringing it in the scenario or in a situation that everybody can use cryptocurrency. And also one thing is that I believe we should start breaking the walls down and simply focus on everyone instead of just one area of it, because there's no specific people that they should be the only ones who are using this. It should be for everyone. So we should look at basically everyone out there and start collaborating with each other and break the walls. Because let's admit it, in crypto there's still this Ethereum fanboys or the NEM fanboys. There's still the Bitcoin fanboys. There's always fanboys, and they're like disagreeing with each other. And I believe making it more solid, more cohesive, working together would encourage the others, people who are not looking into crypto, to look at it even more and start trying it out as well.
So I think if you look at this from a way of where you're trying to solve a problem, how do you solve or get mass adoption? It's almost like any entrepreneur creating an app, right? How do you get engagement and make your app viral? Right? Imagine you're Travis Kalanick and you're creating Uber. How do you get people to adopt Uber? Or how do you get people to adopt Airbnb? Right? So I think this is an issue lots of entrepreneurs have solved before, and it's typically by erasing all the friction for people as they're being onboarded onto your application and engaging with your application. So if we look at this from a blockchain perspective or crypto perspective, I think we have to remove all the friction from people trying to get onboarded onto crypto. For example, ARUT mentioned buying Bitcoin or crypto, right? All the exchanges, the KYC, the wallet issues, having to have a hexadecimal address and private key. I think if you make it as simple as possible and make it so that the hoops are as seamless as possible, more people will start using crypto, right? We'll basically increase our engagement, our retention. So I think it's really the key to getting mass adoption is less friction when it comes to getting involved in crypto and buying crypto. And I think that's something that's going to take a while. I think it has to get to a point where it's so simple to use, anybody could engage in it who's not tech savvy. Like anybody can go, like ARUT mentioned, and it's easy as buying coffee, right? It's kind of like with visas, right? Visa and credit cards and debit cards are easy to use because you just swipe, right? I'm sure you have to apply, and once you apply and you have the card, you just swipe, right? Or even Apple Pay or whatever. But for crypto to get there, I think we really have to build the ecosystem and focus more on user experience and the UI, right? User interfaces.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. We went and we talked in Tel Aviv with Yoni, the CEO of eToro, and he gave us a description of what his thoughts were, and he gave an optimistic view and a pessimistic view. Optimistic view, like Diego was saying, a killer dApp comes out and it's probably gaming. And then this brings people onto the platform. Ian was talking about user interface. That's definitely extremely important. And then the pessimistic view would be governments start failing. People look for places what they want to put their money in. Gold has a huge market cap of like $7.8 trillion. Bitcoin has the tiny market cap of $100 billion. So where do people want to put their money? Into a market cap, probably a smaller market cap. What do you think about that pessimistic view?
I totally agree with you and Yanni. I think it's actually happening right now as we speak, with governments like Venezuela creating their own cryptocurrency, Petro, or a failing government like Argentina with 67% APR interest, right? So it's definitely happening. This is a transition it's going to take some time, obviously, because it's training an entire country to transact in a new era digital currency. But when the big guys, the billionaires of the countries are making that first move, everybody else is going to follow, right? So I think that's definitely a format of transitioning over upon government's failure.
Yeah, I mean, there's only a certain amount of Bitcoin in the world, and there are so many millionaires in the world, so isn't every millionaire going to want to have at least one Bitcoin? I guess that's kind of what I'm always thinking. So, anyone else have any comments?
No, I think let's get to the ICO pitch competition.
All right, guys.
All right. Okay, guys. So, time for the ICO pitch competition. Who will be the possible next 100x ICO? Will it be Kinesis, or will it be Resistance? We shall find out. Not financial advice. All right. So first up is Kinesis. They will get 5 minutes to pitch. This will be a verbal pitch, no PowerPoint, no video. So who's pitching for you guys? All right. Please come on stage and tell us your name.
Thomas Coughlin's my name. I'm the CEO of Kinesis.
All right.
Thanks for your time tonight.
Then we'll have Sam over here in the front, keeping time. He'll give you 5 minutes. All right. And you'll pitch. During that pitch, the panel of judges here will ask questions. Okay?
Got it.
We had okay, so thank you, Paul, for being here with us. Paul has to go, I think, or okay. But Paul can't judge because conflict of interest. So we have Abdi over here, based here in Jeddah.
Saudi Arabia. I'm a project manager here in the Middle East. I've worked for tech firms here, and also I'm a cryptocurrency investor, angel investor. So I've invested in over maybe about 50 ICOs since 2017. So I'm very familiar with cryptocurrency, and glad to join the team.
All right, thank you. All right. Are you ready?
Ready to go.
Are you ready, Sam? Go.
Okay, what we've developed at Kinesis is a monetary system. It's a fair and honest monetary system that's secure, efficient, and rewarding for the benefit of all, both collectively and individually. It's a system that is based on movement, hence our name Kinesis, which in Greek means movement. And what we've done is focus in on what makes money both successful and sustainable. So for that to actually exist, there's two primary elements that need to be in place. One, firstly, it needs to be an effective store of value, and two, an efficient medium of exchange. So the greatest store of value that the world has ever seen is actually gold, independently valued by ancient civilizations as money and held its value throughout time for millennia, for thousands of years. So that's what we've taken, both gold and silver, as our primary currencies that we've basically remonetizing, putting it into the blockchain. And that's the second element that actually contributes towards the success and sustainability of money, for it to be an efficient medium of exchange. And the greatest, most innovative medium of exchange that we now currently see is the blockchain. Breaks down all barriers to entry all around the world, connects parties in a trustless and an efficient environment seamlessly, ultimately. So we've taken gold and then married it up against the new world innovative technology, being the blockchain. And yeah, that's basically what we've done.
Question.
But then
sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
So you're a gold-backed currency or stablecoin?
Yeah. In the crypto markets, we're a stablecoin, effectively.
So how are you different from all the other stablecoins?
So we have an entire yield system. Firstly, we're an end-to-end monetary system. We've got partnerships with mobile banks and everything like that. But what makes us
banks? If you don't mind getting specific.
It's a publicly listed US bank called US mobile bank called Unified Signal. Yep. So they have relationships and they aggregate other banks all around the world, issue a debit card, online banking facilities. Basically, it's phenomenal. It's actually probably the greatest, most extensive service and piping and plumbing into that.
And is the software finished? Currently working?
Yeah, it's that mobile banking side's finished. Yes.
No, I mean the entire gold currency stablecoin.
We've got a minimal viable product that's out, but ultimately, what makes us different is our yield system. So, and this is a sexy factor of everything that we do. We bring a yield to gold. We remonetize gold. And there's both a passive yield, which makes us directly comparable to any other investment asset class with a passive yield. So bonds, bank deposits, dividend-yielding stocks, rental property investment, we become comparable. We're focused in on risk and return, ultimately. We've got definable risk because we're tapping into a large established liquid market, $8 trillion above ground gold. Dwarfs the crypto markets. So we can identify the risk, but now we can also identify the return. We're not looking for capital appreciation. Currency is supposed to serve the commerce of the world. That's what it's designed to do, ultimately. It's on the other side of every single transaction. It needs to be something stable, the closest as possible to the fixed unit of account. And so we've taken gold, something stable, held its value, and then but we incentivize the utilization of it. And so we've got this active return to the yield system that the more that you use our currency, then ultimately the more reward you'd actually get. Okay. But also you have the passive return. So we've focused in on attracting the capital in, and what does that is attractive risk to return metrics, ultimately. Because capital is global and borderless. It's seeking risk to return, but then we put it into motion, and we put it into motion through our active yield system that rewards participation, but also we've got the passive yield as well, which makes us a directly comparable investment to all other investments.
Okay. So everyone here is basically we're pitching at investors. So walk us through your token metrics, hard cap, total supply, etc.
Yeah, sure. So our entire market cap of our Kinesis Velocity token, which is the capital raising vehicle for our system, is actually 300 million. But this is a large established business. We've got all the partnerships in place. We've got everything already in place. Banking partnerships. We've got partnerships with government-owned postal systems, and we're bringing in more government-owned postal systems. Large religious groups of up to 100 million. We've got a large Islamic religious group.
Well, allow me to ask a question. We
Sure.
Just to be quite honest, we met in our office.
Yes, we did.
Last time, yeah. Unfortunately, yep. Just a question. Yeah. So there was a question that it wasn't quite clear for me, and I'm still asking this question. Well, you're mentioning your yield system. And as an investor, for example, you're asking like $300 million, and probably somebody don't know, but the token price was around like 1,000 per token, right?
Correct,
I'm not
yes.
mistaken, right? So don't you think that the just the explanation of the yield system is kind of complicated and not really pointed? Because we hear the yield system, but explain us
Sure.
why do I need to buy it? Why this yield system is better than any other yield system? Why
problem.
will make it me buy your
Well, I'll
coin?
explain it. I mean, I think actually it's a debt-based yield system based on interest is actually complicated. Ours is very simple. It's based on real economic growth. That's what it's based on, and a sharing of that wealth. It's an accumulation of all the transaction fees within the system, right? And then we just share it with the different market participants. So we have like a minting yield. That's for people who create the currency, convert it from, say, US dollars or dirham into our currencies, emit it into the blockchain, and then all they need to do is send, spend, or sell it. It's very simple, or you just hold it. It's just a sharing of the transaction fees. That's all it is.
You've mentioned you're backed by gold.
We're back.
Have you-
We actually are. Our currencies are gold and silver.
Have you been audited?
Yeah. Well, no, we're not live yet, But there's a pre-existing organisation founded in 2011 called the Allocated Bullion Exchange. It's the leading exchange in the world for physical precious metals. I'm the CEO of that company as well, and the team behind that it's launching Kinesis. And yes, we get audits done all the time on our holdings, and we have the largest entities in the world in the precious metal space trading with us. Partnerships with like Deutsche Börse, one of the largest exchange groups in the world. Partnerships with Indonesian Post Office, PT POS. Partnerships like with some of the largest entities in the world. So we're not just a startup. We're not just a bunch of crypto kids. We're a large established organisation with a very strong track record on commercialising businesses. We're bringing and we're basically porting over all the relationships that we've built for the past decade and bringing it into our gold-backed system. And we know about gold, we know about exchanges. We're developing our own blockchain exchange. We've already got all exchange infrastructure, architecture, and plumbing already all there. And that's what we're doing. Yeah, sure, it sounds like a lot of money. Ultimately, we're raising 210 million. But if you actually look at what we've done and where we are, and the fact that we've already raised 60 million without even trying, the fact that we're closing large institutional deals for tens of millions of dollars, no, it's not so much. This is a monetary system, the largest business that you can possibly have in the world. Money's on the...
Question. When would this go live?
It'll be live May next year.
Okay.
But we got our token raise happening right now.
And this is a full utility token, or is it a security token?
It's a security token.
Okay.
Yep. SEC regulated as well. We've got broker dealers throughout the United States offering
Now, because we have fewer projects here, I think we can go kind of past the time limit. I feel like we all still have questions here. Okay, so your security token. Now, you've told me you're a large organization that's done this before.
Yeah, it's a pre-existing organization.
You feel you deserve to raise 210 million or 300 million? What's the number?
We're raising it's $210 million worth of tokens, but
okay,
at the very beginning there was a discount. It'll come out at about 200 million.
With a product that's not finished yet, but will be finished in May, you said?
That will close in March.
Close in what, the ICO?
No, so we've got two offers. The first offer is the token raise, right? So that's called the Kinesis Velocity token. That is basically selling off 20% of the top line revenue of the system.
Now, when will the product be finished, like the full version?
We'll go into beta phase around March, and that's the second offer.
So what do you have now?
That's for the MVP? Currencies. That's for the gold and silver-backed currencies. And in fact, we can actually put any kind of physical asset on there, because we're offering this yield. So say, for example, and we've looked into this, you take physical banknotes. Instead of actually giving your money to a bank and taking counterparty risk with a bank and then getting negligible, return or yield from it, in Switzerland, for example, it's negative 0.75% interest rates. So I give my money to the bank, they can do whatever they want, they now own my money, and I have to pay them more money for doing that.
I mean, that's good what I was saying. So right now you have an MVP, a beta in March.
We've already got the MVP out.
Yeah, I'm saying right now MVP,
Yep.
beta in March. When's the full product?
Full product rollout May next year.
May, so basically Q2.
Yep. That's it.
Now, why your team specifically? Why does your team deserve the 210 million as opposed to somebody else like Deutsche Bank or somebody else?
It wouldn't be possible for anyone else to do it.
Why? Tell me why.
Because we're the leading exchange in physical precious metals in the world, with the partnerships with Deutsche Börse and the likes of these kind of entities. All the infrastructure that we've currently built out with vaults all around the world. We have vaults all around the world. People don't have that. People can't do what we do. It's just not possible. I mean, we've spent a decade building this precious metals exchange. Now the next logical evolution is to actually develop a peer-to-peer currency system. And we can do this, and we've brought in this highly unique yield system that is it's groundbreaking in the monetary space.
So why do this via an ICO as opposed to an equity raise?
We,
because you're a security token.
Okay, so the main reason for this is it's the most effective way to bring in the masses. So, and once you get someone invested, then they're invested in the success of your organization. So we want to go out to the masses and, get as many people as possible invested in, so their skin is in the game. All investors in our ITO, as we call it, initial token offering, will be participants and users in our system. And our system's just going to be so easy to use and so rewarding and so efficient that it's already extreme value there, but we've got them in and invested, so of course they'll use it. But yes, for institutional investors, there's also equity on the table as well, as long as they provide strategic benefits to us.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, let's have the next ICO on the stage, Resistance. Please come up, Anthony. Now, for those of you who have been following the Crypto World Tour, you may recognize Anthony. He was in the Stockholm Crypto World Tour, right? But he didn't pitch. They were not ready. They were too early. But now the product is kind of ready, so now they're here to pitch. So thank you so much for coming back to the Crypto World Tour. All right, Sam. Well, okay, how about this? We'll give you 5 minutes to do your spiel. After that, we'll start asking questions. Or maybe we may even start asking questions earlier, okay? Go.
Awesome. Thanks for letting me be here. And Dubai. What we have built, we have actually built the product. It's working. It's a decentralized exchange that's focused on anonymity and privacy, and it's really easy to use. We want to have something that community actually needs today, and that everyone can use. It's really easy to use it. So it's 100% decentralized. No middleman, no escrow services, no registration. You download the app to Mac OS, Windows, or Linux, and you can start to trade. We have our own blockchain, so we have our own privacy coin in it, so you can add privacy elements to any coin you trade within the exchange. Like Bitcoin, for example, it doesn't have these privacy elements. With a click of a button, you can activate the privacy features, and with zero knowledge proof technology, your trade is gaining this kind of privacy features. We have Tor built in, and we have a lot of other things to add security and privacy features to it, but you can choose to be completely transparent if you like. You will gain a faster speed. The coin itself, it has a hashing algorithm that's unique because it's optimized for CPU mining. We want to have it as a good old days with Bitcoin, when everybody with their computers was able to join the mining and get rewarded for it. So we believe in fair mining and aim to have it ASIC resistant, to have the community back on the mining track again. We also built in reward splitting, so we're not giving away 100% of the mining of the block rewards to the miners. You can choose, instead of wasting electricity on useless calculations, as many people say, you can actually do cancer research on Alzheimer's, or clean water technology within some of our whitelisted projects, and get rewarded for it. We have this working. It's not a white paper ICO. We have a fully working product.
So what do you guys have working right now? So you mentioned...
We have the atomic swaps working. We have the proof of work working. We have the hashing algorithm in place. We have the Tor integration in place.
Take a step back. So
hardware wallet integration is very close.
You're a decentralized exchange.
Yes.
With privacy.
Exactly.
Right. So you're like what? Like the Ether Delta IDX, but with a Monero?
Well, IDEX isn't fully decentralized. You get a centralized web page, right? And you get to deposit your money to them to be able to trade. So How is that giving you peace of mind sleeping at night, knowing that your funds is transferred to somewhere else? Sites can be hacked. If you have your currency within your own computer, you own your private keys, you're in control.
So speaking of that, ever since the whole Ether Delta DNS hack, I haven't used a decentralized exchange.
Yeah,
Do you
we are
guys
also
still
building
use-
in hardware wallet integration. We have, we're building with the Ledger wallet for NanoS. That's coming very soon.
Okay.
Yeah, the question.
So, yeah, the question is very simple, and I believe you had this question many times. So you said you're built on your own blockchain, right?
It's atomic swap, so you're trading on the underlying blockchains directly.
All right. So
You can use our blockchain for the added privacy features if you like.
I get it.
Yeah.
So when it comes to scalability, we both, I mean, you and I, we know that atomic swap is not efficient enough nowadays. It's a matter of some time. But also there's a second question is when it comes to big amounts. The atomic swap is working quite good with the small amounts, and we know you can explain why to the community and to people sitting here. But the problem is if you will be popular. Let's think that's why you're here, right? To make your ICO and your project popular. So when the day will come and you will have a large amount of trades, the question will come to a scalability and to execution of big orders.
Of course.
So what do you have to solve that? Because that's the biggest issue that you will be facing, like in upcoming 5 years.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. First of all, we have liquidity providers, we have market makers, but we are building cutting-edge technology. We are developers. I get some of the best cryptographers in the world within my team. We are actually building things that isn't invented, and that's what I've been doing in the past. I built a product now used by some of the biggest banks in the world, and one of the top 10 telecoms in the world is using a product I built. I created the database. I invented a product that didn't exist. I'm not a salesperson standing here talking to you guys. I'm a technology guy. I sit and code stuff. I build stuff. So we are making this work.
Can you please walk us through your token metrics, your hard cap, total token supply?
Yeah, sure. Since most of this has been self-funded, I got a very small seed in the beginning. The rest of it is our own funds. We built the product, so we have a very low hard cap, and that's gonna be used more for exchange listing of our coin and marketing. That's gonna be the majority of the thing we're gonna spend our funds on. So we have a lower hard cap. So the hard cap is only 18 million. 18, yeah. We actually lowered it because we didn't need everything. 1.8.
Okay. Quick question, Anthony. Tell us about your 3 best, strongest team members, their backgrounds.
Our strongest team members, it's people from like Cisco Systems, Microsoft, or like Hyperledger, former Zcash advisors.
What about any community development, community building? Do you have a developer community that's coming up, or do you have people that are going to participate in using this exchange?
Yeah, of course. We got, for example, we have a very famous Linux distribution that's been focused on privacy. That's going to have this built into their distro from scratch. So we will try to get the security and Linux community and this communities that really like this kind of technology on board as the early adopters. But our main goal is to have it so easy to use with a that simple interface that we already have. So anyone that even doesn't know how to trade to be able to use this. It's really easy to use. And you can mine on it. We have the miner built in. It's finished. With a click of a button, you start to mine. And you can do it with a regular laptop. I mean,
when is the mainnet gonna launch?
I think about a couple of weeks only. The only thing left to do for us to release the mainnet is to build the masternode support. So masternode is something so you can be able to stack coins within a masternode and get rewarded for it, but it will help us to gain faster network, better security, and more stability of the value of the coin.
Can you explain to us how the resistance token is functioning in the ecosystem? What is the utility?
You get when you activate the privacy futures, you're actually using our blockchain. You're using the resistance coin blockchain. So the funds are traded to that coin in the background. And with zero knowledge proofs, you don't see what's happening after because it's sent to a private resistance address. And we also take an exchange fee for anything you trade within the exchange. Half of that exchange fee is traded back to resistance and given back to all the holders of the coin. So it's used like that. So you get dividends.
You mentioned atomic swaps. What coins would you be able to swap with in this exchange?
More or less 95% of everything available. ERC20 tokens, all the Bitcoin forks, Monero.
So basically, if I have Ether, I can send it to the exchange, that gets converted to your privacy coin. Which
You don't need to convert it to a privacy coin. You can trade directly from Ether to Bitcoin or whatever.
Let's say I'm trying to convert from Ether to Bitcoin or Ether to, I don't know, PundiX.
Sure.
Right? Without, I guess, leaving any kind of, with privacy.
Yeah.
I send Ether to your exchange, it gets converted to your coin, then from your coin to PundiX or Bitcoin or whatever token I want. That's the idea.
The only thing you need to do is to click Ether, PundiX, click the privacy button.
It's working
you don't need to
peer-to-peer.
think about that.
There is no middleman. The decentralized exchange is working like peer-to-peer. One coin to another is just shape shifts one with another. The difficulty is to.
What's the point of the coin? Because you said it's a privacy coin, right?
Yeah. It's adding privacy elements to any coin you trade if you activate the privacy functionality.
Okay, so if you stake it, you can activate the privacy, basically?
You don't need to stake it. You don't need to even have resistance coins to be able to use this feature.
Then why do I need your coin? I'm trying to grasp that. Why do I need the privacy, the resistance coin?
Because it's a privacy coin by its own, and it's used within the exchange to add privacy features to the coins you trade if you like.
So it's not necessary to have it.
It's its own blockchain.
Right? So the question is very simple. I mean, yeah, we had this conversation here before, and it comes up with the same projects like yours. I tried to go onto the link on your website, and I couldn't. And apparently, I was told that anybody who is not an investor or not registered with you cannot access right now your website. So basically, I will have to believe whatever you said without even doing my own research. This is number one. The second question is that if you're saying the 95% of the coins, and basically you won't be controlling the shifts and the changes. So how are you regulated with SEC? Because definitely you will be trading the security coins. This is number one. And number two, that most of your trades are not going transparent. If we are going to the new regulations in the new year, then definitely you will have to show your clearinghouse. So how you're going to manage with this? Are you registered with SEC, or have you had if you're saying that you're giving profits on your coin, have you registered as a security? And if you're not, have you received the exemption certificate from SEC? Because this is like must have for any kind of ICO.
We build technology, and it's going to be open source. Anyone can download it and they can use it. They don't need us for any
I
kind
do
of
understand,
middleman,
but you're
any
building
escrow.
technology and you're asking for funds for your technology. Second, that you're depending on the clients, working with the clients, puts you in a side of legal entity as a business. We do understand that you're really brilliant in your technology, as you're saying, and you have a vital, brilliant team full of really bright minds, but you're on the side of a legal side, entity side, a business side. And as a business, you're not only making a technology. As a business, you're taking care of customer support, of a business operations, and the clearing house, because you're a financial system. Either you want it or not. It's not about Bitcoin. It's not about blockchain. It's about fintech. And when it comes to fintech, there is a proper book of regulations and frameworks. So what would you do on that? Because it's not only about technology.
That's a question for our lawyers. I'm not supposed to answer that question. But we have a way to make this work.
Another question.
Last question.
How would you decentralized exchanges? They struggle with liquidity. That's why Binance is the most popular exchange because they have market makers, they have liquidity. How would you bring liquidity into your exchange?
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. We do have liquidity providers. We got market makers. And we are also building our REST API so arbitrage brokers can tap into it. And anyone can be a market maker too, to use it.
All right. Thank you, Anthony.
Thanks.
Okay, all right. So we had 2 ICOs pitch. Thank you guys both so much for coming here and pitching and showing us your idea. Now it's time for the panel of judges to tell us what they think. So which ICO do you want to see a visual presentation in the next round? We'll start with Abdi over here.
I'll be interested in seeing Kinesis.
Kinesis? Okay, 1 vote for Kinesis.
I like Resistance Coin. I think it's a brilliant idea, and I think it's very disruptive and something that's actually not there yet.
So first of all, guys, congratulations on your pitch, on your projects. It's definitely great to see this ecosystem continue evolving with great ideas and great projects. I'm definitely going to have to go with Resistance. And I mentioned something earlier that backs up my decision. And it's pretty much this ecosystem is going to have there's obviously going to be regulation and governance, but there needs to be decentralized exchanges in order for it to operate in a decentralized format. So I definitely agree. I definitely feel that decentralized exchanges and privacy, if you mix those two together, it can definitely attract users to its platform. So for that reason, I choose Resistance.
Well, first of all, thank you for coming and thank you for pitching. I know how hard is it to present your project because for most of us, our projects is just like our babies. And when somebody's trying to bull and say something that hits your heart, you're trying to you're nervous and you're trying to secure your project. So just you have to understand that the questions are just to understand your project more efficient. So my vote will go to Resistance, but there is one question which is very important. You're a founder, as I understand, right? Are you a founder? Okay. So I understand that you love your project, and I understand that from your side. Well, I have a huge technical team, and most of the guys in the team are just very similar to you. Not a people to talk, not a people to sell. Like very technologically minded, oriented on technology, and so hard to get into them to get some information about your project because they're not they're not like a talking people. They're more people of doing. So when I'm asking you the question about the business side and about some entity side, which is very important for investor because I'm investing by myself. Apart that, I am a CEO and a founder of an exchange. Also, this is semi-decentralized. And I do understand your processes, but when we will come to a next pitch, me personally, I like the personality, but I would advise you to make more knowledge on your legal side. Not because you don't, just because you're a technical guy, it doesn't mean that you don't have to know something about your project. It doesn't mean that you just have to say it's question to a lawyers. No, dear, it's a question to you because you're the one who's selling the project. If you're selling the project, then please have enough respect to a community you're selling it to give a full information about the project, and it will be very important for yourself to have this information because there's only one person in the project which is supposed to know every single piece in a project, starting from a cleaner who comes to your office and making a tea and cleaning the floor and ending up with the high-stack technology. So this is just my advice. It's not a financial advice. It's just a business advice. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So that's one vote for Kinesis, 3 for Resistance. I think it's pretty much determined Resistance. But just in case, let's have the audience. Just wanted to know what you guys wanted to hear. Resistance, show of hands. Okay, Kinesis, show of hands. Okay, all right, Resistance. You've won. And Kinesis, thank you so much for pitching. All right, please come on stage. You have something to show? Video, computer. You have the product, right?
Yeah, but we're not supposed to show the product.
Oh. Okay, all right. Come here and we'll ask you more questions then. That's a real privacy, ICO. Okay, all right. So, how do investors deal with your exchange from a regulation and tax perspective, right? Because I guess for me, for example, right, as most people know, I was hacked, right? Lost over $2.5 million from a hack. And hackers were trying to watch the funds via exchanges and shape-shifting service providers like Shapeshift, Coin Something, right? And we basically had a team of private investigators tracking the wallets, right? Some even possibly doing everything via, what's it called? Chain analysis, the software that tracks transactions, right? It's more for governments and enterprise level companies for tracking funds on a blockchain, right? And I'm kind of conflicted, right? Because in a way, I do think privacy is good for the ethos and what people are trying to build with blockchain and crypto. But then at the same time, if somebody steals your money, they can just wash it on your exchange and just run away to the sunset, right?
Yeah, but they can also trade it to Monero, and then you won't know how it went. So it's like internet. You can do good things with your internet browser, and you can do bad things.
So it's, I guess, basically other services that are still available, even if we don't use your exchange.
Exactly.
So, okay. Now, I've been told Monero isn't fully private, because I have friends of mine who's helping me with a hack saying there's still ways to kind of track Monero transactions. Is that true? And how does your exchange differ, or your coin differ?
Monero is awesome. I love Monero from my heart. I have nothing bad to say about Monero. But we have elements on our coin that's really, really good, as the ASIC resistance, that there's reward splitting, so you can earn it not by only mining, but from doing proof of research, from putting up a masternode, or to contribute to the community for actual development on it. We're giving away rewards for that as well.
From a business development point of view, are you guys going out to different conferences, getting some global exposure for your project?
Yeah, I mean, recent month I've been in London, I've been in Singapore, I was in San Francisco, I was in Korea, I'm here, I'm going to Prague, I'm going to Malta after that, so absolutely, always on the move.
All right, there's just a simple question. When are you going live? Is there any date where just a simple regular person can just go to resistant.io and start trading? Do you have any idea on that?
I estimate it to be a couple of weeks from now.
So it will be available for anybody?
We want to finish up everything before we launch it. So the last piece of the puzzle is the masternodes. So once we have that tackled and the hardware wallet integration piece tackled, that's really soon.
So have you built the protocol to integrate the hard wallet, or is just a matter of time to integrate?
Yeah, we are building. We got developer access a couple of weeks ago, so we're building hard.
So you're building the Nano Ledger access to your to your exchange already. I mean, have you ever tested it?
That's what we are doing now.
Okay.
That actually was my question, because I know the masternode component is always the last thing to kind of be integrated. So in 3 weeks, people will be able to stake masternodes and do all that, or in a couple of weeks, you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, we have been building everything else in such a speed, so this is one of the last pieces of the puzzle.
There will be like a detailed guide on how many masternodes people need, just kind of instructions on how to do, because that's
of course,
very new.
Very proper documentation.
Right. What are the token metrics again? So you're raising 18 million?
Yes.
How many total tokens?
It's 60 million tokens, and we are selling 65% of it.
Wait, how many?
60 million tokens. 60
million tokens.
Yeah.
What percent is being sold during the ICO?
65%.
65%. Okay, so token price is How much?
ICO price is 0.55.
55 cents?
55 cents.
50?
55 cents.
55 cents, okay.
55 dot something. I don't know.
What's the largest?
And
bonus?
for private sale, we have 25% discount. And that's the highest discount we have.
Highest discount, 25%. Okay. Going back to the team, you said you had people working at Cisco and Microsoft?
Previously, I hired them, so they work full-time for us.
How long were they working there, and what were they doing at Microsoft and Cisco?
In 4 years in Microsoft, Cisco was there in over 2 years, was working with IT security. So I got involved with him actually on IT security tasks, and we started to work together.
Could you tell us about some strategic partners, strategic investors that have invested in your company this far, if they have?
Yeah, we have some really big event organizers in the Asian market that already invested that will help us to grow large and put us on stage in very big events.
Any names?
Well, FactBlock, that's official. They already helped us to talk to some very big venture capital firms and VCs. The other one is not public yet, but it's a very big one in Asia.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Okay, all right. So the last portion of this event is going to be the AMA, the Ask Me Anything.
Okay, so I've got two questions. First one is, like you said, to bring mass adoption. Bitcoin, do you think it can scale? I know people are working currently on the Lightning Network, but I mean, there's a lot of people that's saying that Bitcoin is not able to scale. So just in your opinion, do you think, I mean, to do microtransactions, is it going to be possible for Bitcoin to scale to do 1 million, million microtransactions per second? And then just a second question for Ian. I know 99% of the time you invest in ICOs. So just what is the reason that you invest in ICOs? And I mean, not in existing tokens that is already available. I mean, everything is on special at the moment as well. So just the reason, why don't you invest in any of the products out there at the moment?
Good question. So in terms of Bitcoin scaling to 1 million transactions per second, you said? I mean, to be honest, I mean, I can't really predict that. I think, though, as we've seen in the last few years, Bitcoin has a governance issue, right? That's why people have seen all the issues. I mean, between Bitcoin and the hard forks, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Diamond, Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin everything, right? And although Bitcoin is still king, I think that governance issue really has to get solved, and I feel it's going to be a deterrent to building a better currency, right? And I feel like the way it was designed initially has kind of been ignored, and now people are just looking to kind of get their ideas across and trying to create Bitcoin in the manner they think is Bitcoin, as opposed to truly having a community or a better governance model. Now, in terms of will Bitcoin scale, I mean, I don't really see it, to be honest. I mean, what I do see is I think there'll be progress. I think when Rootstock, when RSK comes and brings smart contracts on Bitcoin and higher transactions per second and scaling, I think that's going to be better. I know people are trying to test out Lightning Network and all that stuff, but I'm not sure we can do everything under just one. I feel like the model is better to just kind of do one thing and do it well, as opposed to trying to do everything well, right? I don't see Bitcoin being a microtransactions winner, a smart contracts winner, a high TPS winner. I think there'll be different blockchains that just dominate on just one thing, right? That's my take. Any of the panelists want to chime in?
Sure, yeah. I think there's definitely going to be alternatives that implement scaling onto Bitcoin, such as RSK with smart Bitcoin transition, and then RFI token for transacting. If I'm not mistaken, is 100 transactions per second at the moment, with compounded repetitive transactions reaching 2,000. I could be wrong though. So we are seeing alternatives being implemented onto Bitcoin, but Bitcoin itself, I feel like it's more of a store of value, right? And then it can just be transferred over to these new technologies that can definitely achieve high scalability.
Okay. Go back to the question. So I think it's more of a modular approach, right? Kind of like getting Bitcoin and kind of plugging on Lightning Network or RSK or whatever. But if that can be done on Bitcoin, it can be done to other technologies or other blockchains as well, right? Then the other question, why I only do ICO investments, pretty much. I think for me, it's more of just my psychology, the way I look at something, right? I always want to get in, at that time, the best entry price, right? Because for me, when I get into an ICO, I feel pretty safe that I got the best price available, right? Because an ICO is typically the best entry price, whether it's the regular ICO, the pre-sale, private sale, whatever, right? But if I'm buying something that's crashed, it's down 90%, right? I don't know if I'm catching a falling knife, right? And I guess it's just the human in me, right? I feel like, I mean, this project's down 90%. Who wants it, right? Even though the psyche is you want to buy as it's dumping, right? And for me, the way I think, I just feel more comfortable getting in during an ICO than buying on exchanges. The only project I bought on exchanges this year was POA, Proof of Authority. I think they changed the name to something. Did they change the name to a different name? Still that name? Okay. Okay, so I got into them. I bought the top, basically. I bought them around 60, 70 cents before the market. Early 2018, I just tanked. Ended up just taking that out, selling it. But if I had bought it during the ICO, I would have been better, at least at that point in time, right? So for me, it's just kind of more of my preference, my personal preference. Not really a strategy per se, just more personal preference, I guess, right? What I feel comfortable, right? Everybody has different levels of comfort. Some people have great comfort when it comes to day trading, swing trading. For me, I just feel comfortable getting in at the initial ICO price. Anybody here want to chime in?
Sure. I think that there's, with the bearish market, there's also great opportunities to purchase tokens, right? But my motto is I don't ever buy a token simply because it's 90% down, especially if it's 90% down from ICO price. If this current token is valued at a 5x ROI and it came down from like 20x ROI, then it makes more sense because it's still above ICO price and is a devalued token at this present moment. But once it goes underneath the primary ICO price, it definitely becomes a lot more risky because it could be a shitcoin, right? So definitely just be very cautious with that aspect.
Yeah, just to kind of add on to that, I think if you actually go back and look at the data, projects that open flat and tank, meaning that they're below ICO price in the first 1 or 2 weeks, historically, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think don't perform well, right? Because there are very few outliers. PundiX is an outlier. PundiX opened in a bad market, went down 50% or more below ICO price. Then out of nowhere, it just rallied to like 10x, 15x or more. And I think very few projects do that. That was more of an outlier per se. But I guess you have to go through and truly compare the data points to really make a actual stance on that. But that's the way I feel.
Yeah, to add on that, on the outliers, PundiX for a reason had a specific reason why they dumped. I believe they were hacked. So there was like a catalyst for the tokens going below ICO price. So typically I feel like if there was some big event that happens and the token drops and you still believe in the technology and the team does something to fix it, then it's likely that the token can come back. But if someone does their ICO perfectly and everything and they still just fall flat, then maybe there's something definitely very wrong with the project as well.
Yeah. Another thing I would consider is market conditions. At the time you're investing, when we were investing in bull market, there were projects that were obviously not very good projects doing 10x's. And when you're in a bear market, these projects are definitely not going to do a 10x. So just be cognizant how the market is doing at that time. You may have a excellent project that could come out in a bear market, and you may have to hold your bags until the market recovers. So that's why I'm more of a fundamental investor. I like to look at the fundamentals behind an excellent project. So that's how I would approach it. You know, always go back to the fundamentals and then take a look at the market conditions at the same time. Is it a bull market? Is it a bear market? Sideways market? Understand where you stand.
All right, next question.
Hi, I have a quick question. I just would like your thoughts about BitShares as a technology. What do you think about BitShares from a technology point of view?
BitShares. I used to day trade BitShares a lot before I was in the whole ICO space. Made good money on it. I tried the technology. I've used their exchange. You basically have to, for those who don't know, BitShares is also a decentralized exchange, actually similar to Resistance, just not privacy focused. And you download their application, and everything's inside the exchange. And when I used it, I was very impressed with how they actually had a working product, an exchange. I just didn't like the user experience of having to go there, buy the tokens, trade the tokens, right? And I didn't like how you had to really download it, right? For me, I guess I like using stuff online or just something that has less friction, right? So having to download something, install it, all that, when you can just use everything inside your browser. But I do understand what they were trying to do and really take away the decentralization and having the browser involved, right? So I've used their exchange, but it was almost 2 years ago. Haven't really used it since then, right? Although it's up there in terms of market cap, I don't think it has really had that breakaway like other exchanges like Binance and KuCoin and other, right, who have been around for much less time, but have, I would say, more users per se. Maybe Anthony can chime in here, since you're kind of in the same space with exchanges. With what do you think of BitShares? What's your take on BitShares? Let's give you a mic.
Yeah, sure. BitShares is good, but it's built for people like me, more technology-focused people, not for the general public. It's not 100% decentralized, as it's not trading on the underlying blockchains directly. Otherwise, it's cool.
What was that? Okay. All right. Now, I guess the founder of BitShares went to found EOS, right? EOS. Hopefully, other founders don't just abandon the project. Okay. Next question.
Hi, Ian. Thank you so much for coming to Dubai, and it's very interesting
seeing
you beside the pictures. What do you think, like, with introduction of coin-based, like, stable tokens? Do you think will add some value to the market? Do you think we're gonna see?
What do you think of stablecoins? You said?
Yeah, like the coin-based stablecoin.
Coin-based?
Yeah.
Coinbase, the exchange.
Yeah, the coin-based exchange with using, yeah.
I think it's a good move, right? But I'm not sure. I mean, I guess you have to. I'm trying to see. I haven't used it yet. I think it's good for crypto just to kind of build more confidence in having a different option to tether. But I think whether you go to Coinbase or some other, or to fiat, the way it's still a taxable event for at least for me and Americans, right? So I'm not sure I would use it per se unless I had a real reason to use it, right? For those who don't know, I've never used stablecoins ever. I just go to fiat. So I haven't really been somebody to use stablecoins. So I don't think I'm adept to really comment much on it, to be honest. Anybody here? I think stablecoin is more for traders.
Yep. Well, it's a quite good move for Coinbase, and the market shows that there is a competition, a beauty contest between Tether and other stable coins. We can see it because what happened recently when it was when Tether fell below the average price and the Bitcoin price just rocketed almost like to 6,700, 7,200 in some exchanges. So this is the true meaning that there is a competition. The competition that really the average users can't see, but there is a competition between the stable coins, and what is behind stable coin is an entity. So Coinbase, as a big entity, is trying to show off and trying to find its place on the market, because the impact of Tether and Bitfinex is just something that can't be imagined right now. I mean, yeah, we do know that Binance is the biggest exchange with the biggest volume, but the biggest player is Bitfinex, and you will understand it once you will figure out what kind of connections they use and how do they implement their business. They're not really transparent, but they're quite powerful. This is what kind of power Coinbase is trying to take over. This is just it.
So I have a question for the audience as a whole. I mean, let's say you're a Coinbase user and you have, let's say, $10,000 on Coinbase, or let's say $10,000 worth of Ether in Coinbase. Do you go to the Coinbase stablecoin, or do you go to dollars? And why? Anybody here want to answer that question? No? Done. In the back? Okay. $2? I'm the same way. Right? Anybody here want to answer that question? Ugo, I mean, you trade a lot, right?
It boils down to a tax question.
If both are taxable events, right? Whether you go to dollars or to the Coinbase.
Dollar.
So, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, right? I'm not. Really.
It is there is a difference if you're day trading or you're just trading and taking out your profits. If you're day trading, then you don't go to a dollar, just because putting a dollar inside is just a hell of a hustle and a hell of a commission. Maybe not for you guys because you're Americans, but for the rest of the world it is.
Okay.
It is a question, really big question, to go onto an exchange and paying commission fees.
But if you're on Coinbase Pro, I mean, it's pretty, I guess, straightforward. But
yeah, not in the rest of the world. Believe me, it's not straightforward. It will take to input like $100,000 into an exchange. It will take like 3 to 5 working days to hit this 100,000 to a bit stamp. And if you want to pay a commission like 1%, but if you want it like seamlessly, then it's a hell of a hustle with 17 different exchanges with 3.5 to 5% of commission, different spreads. Oh, it's a big job, believe me. Okay. That's why you're going to a stablecoin to wait for storm finishes to find the best time to go enter the market, and you're entering back, gaining profits again to a stablecoin. That's why there is such a need in stablecoins. Not about the tax. It's not about.
So you're saying you can go back and forth very quickly.
Yep.
If you're having issues
with input. Because most of the world has an issue with input. Mm-hmm. That's why there's a big amount of stable coins. That's why Tether is so vital right now, because people actually don't go out of exchange. They just keep their funds in the exchange to find the best way to enter back, actually putting the delayed orders. That's what they do.
But I feel like if you're trading on Coinbase, you've already gotten past the input phase.
Well, if you're trading on Coinbase. It's not only for Americans, but for the very small amount of people like Malaysia.
Okay, but I think that would work if Coinbase's token was available on other exchanges besides Coinbase.
That would be amazing if it will be available on any other exchange, because Coinbase actually just the only exchange which is having totally understandable or clear clearinghouse reports. I mean, if you want, you can ask them and they will provide you the clearinghouse report.
Okay. All right. Good question. All right. Next question. Where's Sam?
Okay. My question is just general question about blockchain. It's been like 10 years, since the blockchain, has been formulated and put into real use. Which projects do you see can solve some of the real world problems? Like, for example, I can give is like, if in shipping line, you're moving a container from one country to another, there's something called bill of lading. Maersk started a project where you can track the containers, irrespective of how many number of, countries it goes, which ports it goes. But which projects are like real world, is solving a real world like problems? So for example, right now, most of the ICOs I see, or coins I see, is like Pokemon cards. You know, when you're kids, you're collecting them.
Gotta catch them all.
Yeah,
right?
it's just there's no real world use. You know, it's just you're collecting this, collecting that, and some.
So what projects? I mean,
like
to be honest, but I'm kind of conflicted. I think point of sales for crypto.
Yeah, what does it solve?
So if you have crypto, you can go to Starbucks and using Point.x, the merchant can accept crypto, and you as a customer, you can spend crypto, right? That's why I think it's done very well this year.
Why not cash? Like you see that there is an alternative, something. I want to see something which only blockchain can solve it. There's no other alternative. Is there anything? Can you just name?
Well, there is a land department which is vitally requires blockchain. It's very easy to maintain and it's so transparent. There's no way to maintain it without the blockchain in a transparent way. We know it. Dubai land department is going on blockchain. It's doing quite good. So yeah, there's no way to do it without a blockchain. There's no way to do something better in logistics without the blockchain. But in logistics, it's quite hard because there are different countries with different entities. And please don't forget about the corruption. The logistics market has billions of dollars, and don't think somebody's going to give away billions of dollars towards transparency. Hell no.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to go back and look at the need for blockchain and why it really took off, right? It allows two parties to interact with each other without having a middleman. No bank, no government, right?
Yeah.
And still trust each other, which is very hard to do, right? You can be two strangers and interact with each other financially or even just with contracts, land, different things, without the government, without the bank, and still trust each other.
One small question.
Let me give you an example. So how else in the world, Sunday at 1 a.m., can I send Shahab $10 million instantaneously in 15 seconds without the approval of a third party like a bank? And he can just cash it out right away.
Well, in Dubai, yeah, because Sunday is the first working day, right?
No, they are money lenders.
Yeah, it is, man.
Well, as an American from Miami to Dubai.
Okay, on Friday.
On Friday. So there you go. I don't need the approval of a third party. I don't need to do a wire transfer. I don't need to wait 3 days for them to accept my transaction.
Okay.
He has it in 15 seconds.
Just building on the government side, do you know any projects which are working on the government side? For example, if you give a nonprofit money, okay, they're very transparent with their transactions, and you can know by the blockchain audits how much money is going to management, how much money. Is there any projects like that made for the government or nonprofits?
For nonprofits on a blockchain?
Yeah.
What do you mean by nonprofits? Do you mean the country budget managing?
Like for example, charity. Okay, you're giving the money to charity.
Well, charity is something which is important and can be done on a blockchain, but with the cryptocurrency, well, let's go back. You can easily, there are some countries with issues in charity that like $1 million goes on charity and 900 of it goes to a leader of a charity and he's buying a new house and 100,000 goes to his kids. I'm telling about the charity in a real way, then there's no charity on the blockchain because easily convertible to a Monero, and then bam, bang, it goes again to somebody else on an island, and you don't know where the money is. So the charity doesn't require the blockchain. It just requires an honesty and just heart and passion to do good. I mean, there's nothing to do with the blockchain because anyway, there's always be the way to steal the money.
I'll give you another example. Icon just signed a contract with the South Korean government to develop the platform for voting, so for governmental voting, right? So like I said earlier, once you input data onto the blockchain, there's no way to go and alter any of that data, giving a voting system 100% transparency, which is a real issue considering how much corruptness revolves around the voting industry in the world on a global scale.
All right, thank you. Next question.
Okay. Hi, Ian. There was huge FUD on Sparkster this month, so I just want to ask, are you still bullish on Sparkster?
You said there was huge FUD?
Yes, on Sparkster.
Which FUD? There's always FUD on Sparkster. Which FUD exactly are you referencing?
Well, because, the tokens are still locked and people cannot trade them, so...
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's FUD per se. Looking at other projects that have come out in this market, I don't think that would be wise for a project to do right now. Right, I think it would just probably lead to not a profitable return or not its best performance, in my opinion. Right, I think for any project really, it's better to wait for a better market. Right, and that's what even exchanges are telling me. Right, they aren't really listing projects right now; they're waiting for a rebound. So for me, I don't think it's bad per se. Right, because I'd rather hodl than have the token dump, basically.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And by the way, Sparksters is very on point with token listings, with listing their token. It's just like Ian said, the exchanges are the ones that are being extremely careful when listing, right? So one thing that this market has definitely acquired is the maturity of just being patient, right? So it makes sense to just hold and wait for a more stable market for listing.
All
Next question.
Just back to decentralized exchanges. Will we ever have liquidity?
If they have market makers, yes. Next question. Shihab over here. Oh, good question. Good question. I think you have to care, right? I mean, yes, it's a short-term reflection of where you are, but I think it's a health check as well, right? I feel like, yes, it's good to build, but you can't just build in silence. You can't just come to investors, take their money, and go in hiatus for 7 years saying we're building, right? You still gotta communicate. I think it's just basic investor relations, right? I know, sure, it's just some ICOs claim this is not a investment per se. It's a contribution or a donation or whatever buzzword they want to use, right? But I feel like you still have to have good public relations with your community, right? You have to keep them up to date, right? So I feel like projects that really have updates every week, bi-weekly, or even worst case every month on the nature of the business, the project, what they're doing, really help build investor and community morale, right? So I think you could really say price is a reflection of all the total actions of the company and the community and the sentiment combined, right? I feel like if you're a good project and you're building and you're keeping the community involved and engaged, why would the price dump, right? And people say there are good projects out there that still dump, but I think I still go back by my old stance, right? That's a reflection of everything the project and the community combined, because what if you're doing everything by the book, but there's one thing you didn't do by the book, and you didn't tell the community about it. Maybe you gave your advisors or equity investors a 400% bonus, and you lied to the community, didn't tell them about it. Then you get dumped on. You say, oh, we're just building, you know? That's nothing, we're doing everything by the book, right? So I feel like all these actions in total, it's kind of like the butterfly effect, right? A butterfly flapping a wing in the ocean can affect and end up causing a hurricane somewhere halfway across the world because it's the summation of everything. And I feel like token price in a way kind of reflects that, right? Anybody here want to chime in?
I want to add to what Ian was saying also. I think building network value and having people actually use your token or coin is also another factor that I would look into. You have, for example, coins like Dogecoin. It's top 30 or top 40, and there's absolutely no development going on that coin. But it has a huge community and a lot of people supporting it. And if you know anything about Dogecoin, it's not something anybody would take seriously. But it's done a lot. It has a higher market cap than most ICOs that came out this year. So so taking the fact, you have to look at the community, you have to look at network value. Are people supporting this coin? Are people using it? You know, for example, Monero, it's a coin that's being used. I mean, regardless whatever the purpose is, it's a coin that's used. So building network value is an important aspect you should always look into. That's not just the hype. You know, of course, the coin's going to go up in value. As soon as it comes out, hits the market, it's going to do a 10x. But that hype goes away, and then you have to have the network value to back it up. Some coins never get that value, and they stay where they are, and they stay below ICO price.
Well, as I think, there's quite simple business rule, and it's supposed to be among top 5 rules. The actions that you do now, even it's in the business or even it's in your life, will give result in a while. There are no results, immediate results. It works like karma. It will give a result in a while. So it is just it is important for a CEO and founders take care of the project in the beginning, once they just started to draft the legal papers and working with their partners. Be very selective with who you're working to. Be 100% selective with who you're selling your token to, unless you don't care. But if you do care, if you do look like 5, 7, 10 steps ahead, then you're supposed to make a proper roadmap on how you're going to implement the project. Also, there should be, most of the project don't have the pessimistic scenario, and the pessimistic scenario is that you guys don't get a single dollar funded, raised. What you're going to do after that? Your idea is going to be nothing unless you already reserved a decent amount of time and money to pay salaries, to pay rents, and to develop the project. So that's the key for any kind of project, and it's important for the CEOs, founders, and the COOs. Think 10 steps ahead and try to understand that any action you're doing now will have consequences in the future. Definitely, there's no doubt about it.
So adding to that, one of the reasons that I believe makes 100x Advisors different than most funds and VCs is because we understand the value of going and traveling the world. We've been to 25 countries in the past 9 months or so. And just to give you guys an example, we went to Russia and we were there for an entire month. Now, when you're with a team, with a founder and team members for an entire month, you learn things about that team that you really wouldn't understand with a virtual communication. And one of the most important factors and aspects about a person for me is the way they're programmed. Are they programmed to achieve success? We ask them about previous ventures and if they've had successful exits. So are you the kind of founder that thinks the cup is halfway full or halfway empty? So depending on that programming, to me, that's just a key component that a CEO and a founder needs to have in order to achieve success. So are you programmed to achieve success? Once we get to know this team on a very personal scale, then obviously we decide to whether we want to work with them or not. But to me, that's very, very, very important.
So I want to add on to that, right? Going back to token price. And I think, I guess I'll kind of walk this through a story without really saying the ICO, but this was one of my investments, one of my worst performing investments from last year. It was a DApp. Probably went to like below 95% ICO price, right? And I was like, what the hell, right? I got wrecked. But going back to the question, does the token price reflect the team and their progress? I would say yes, right? Because the team, it's a team I had a chance to get to know. They didn't really plan their ICO raise, right? They planned raising the money, but they didn't really take the planning in advance to do things like going through exchange listings, for example, right? They hadn't even looked at the form for exchanges. They just thought they'll raise the money, then go and apply to exchanges. But when they go into exchanges, the exchanges have criteria of what they look for. They ask, okay, what's the background of the team? Is there a product already? Is there a GitHub link? Are these people credible in the space? Have you done an audit of a smart contract? Do you have a legal opinion from a attorney saying this is not a security? Right? They had not done all of this. And after raising the funds, they said, oh, wow, we have to jump through all these hoops. And when they try doing that and they fail, when the exchanges say no to them, they tell the community, oh, we don't care about exchanges. Right? When in reality, they didn't do their homework early. Right? Had they known that, hey, you know what, all these exchanges we had planned and told the community would list, won't list us because we don't meet the criteria. Even though we kind of told our community that we would have all these listings lined up, we didn't do a homework earlier, right? For example, not being a security. You have to have a lawyer that the exchange will recognize saying, hey, this is not a security, we can list this. Right? So I feel like all these different things these projects had not done, right? And now if you go onto CoinMarketCap, this token has trading volume of like $100. Like meaning the whole community lost faith in the project and just dumped it. And nobody's buying it at all. And I think that is a reflection of the poor planning of the project. This is my take on that. Okay, next question, please.
Okay, my question is, how regulation can affect the crypto space. What kind of affection does it have? And will it have on the crypto space? Of course, we all know that regulation will bring lots of millionaires to the market, and that is something we all want because we'll be millionaires probably. But for what cost? Because as you know, I'm coming from Iran, and we are restricted for investing in about 90% of ICOs, and it is getting harder and harder for us even to just trade in an exchange, because Bittrex, in December I think it was, that blocked lots of Iranians, and hundreds of thousands of money from people that blocked in that exchange, even my money. Even though they promised me that they will not block my money and they will let me withdraw my money if one day they decided to block Iranians, but they blocked Iranians and they didn't let me to withdraw my money.
Oh man, sorry to hear that.
It wasn't a lot of a lot of bitcoins, just a few, but this is getting harder and harder for us. So, what is the point of regulation? Does it have a good effect? Do we really need the regulation or not?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a more complex question. Regulation can be good and bad, depending on how it affects you. I mean, I think regulation is needed depending on, I think for crypto to grow as a whole, we need regulation, right? I think investors, especially as we get more retail investors involved in the space, they have to feel protected, right? Especially even in the ICOs, right? There's so many scam ICOs out there. We have to feel protected to have more confidence to invest. But then at the same time, it does kind of have its negatives, right? Things that aren't really good. For example, with you, right? You're affected being in Iran and having your Bitcoin frozen on exchanges just because of where you live, right? I mean, I don't really know the perfect answer to that, to be honest. You know? I mean, have you thought about moving somewhere? A different password? I don't know. Right? It's very tough, right? Kind of almost unfair, right? Kind of where you're born, you're kind of penalized for it. Right? But I feel like as this space grows and evolves, we'll start to get more solutions, because I feel like the whole point of blockchain is to be inclusive as opposed to exclusive. Right? People who were, for example, the unbanked are now being able to bank and transact in this space. So, I mean, I think it's a very complex topic, for sure. Okay, let's take one last question and wrap up. We are running behind. Okay, over here.
Hi, how are you? First of all, I would like to thank you for coming here to Dubai, the Middle East.
Thank you as well.
Welcome. My question is about ETF, exchange trading funds. What's your comment on that? And what's the other?
On ETF?
Yes, please.
I'm bullish on the ETF being approved.
But it's been happening
right?
for 2 years right now. We're getting bored of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know when. I just know it's going to happen. Not financial advice. Right? But if I had to speculate, though, I think Q1, right? Because that's when it was pushed back to. Right? I think when I think the rebound, at least the way I personally view it, the market is slowly starting to turn around. I don't think we're quite there yet, but I think in Q1 we'll start to see more positive sentiment, especially as we get closer to the ETF. And it seems that everything is kind of getting more aligned, especially with the backed and other things, right, and futures, right? But just my opinion, definitely not any kind of insight per se.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward for the ETF somewhere around February to finally come to a decision. However, Fidelity is now building enterprise. Sorry, this is the word came off. Enterprise custodianship with a brother company, and I think that can definitely bring a lot of the institutional money. I think they're a $7.4 billion entity, and so is ETF really necessary at the moment? Perhaps Fidelity might solve that issue with the enterprise custodianship and the 24/7 trading platform. So we could see a massive pump in price.
Yeah, I also I believe, if you remember, in September, Gemini ETF there was an ETF being supported by Gemini that got rejected, and I believe there was an article that came out a week ago where they were saying that Gemini has fixed the concerns that SEC had regarding that particular ETF. So it seems there's definitely a positive sentiment kind of gearing towards an ETF being approved. So that's pretty good.
To add on to that, right? So if you look at the board of the SEC that's voting on the ETF, right? They added somebody, or I think they're adding somebody who's pro-crypto. I think the last vote was 3-1, right? And then I think somebody who's not pro-crypto, I believe, don't quote me on that. The term is ending this in December, I believe, right? So I believe that if you kind of go through and try to just kind of look at, it's kind of like polling, right? We have 2 people now that are going to be pro-crypto and 2 people that are not pro-crypto, right? Then the chairman, their boss, basically have to be the tiebreaker. So I think now we have a better chance than last time. That's why I'm personally bullish in Q1. But that's just my personal take. No kind of a financial advice. All right, guys. Want to say something?
I just want to say, don't buy into the hype in crypto. If you remember, in early 2017, there was a Bitcoin ETF that got rejected. And right after that, the market dipped, Bitcoin's price went down, and the bull market started. So don't buy the hype. Bull market crashed when the futures, Bitcoin futures, got started. So the Bitcoin futures started the whole hype on Bitcoin. And then once Bitcoin futures to open for trading, the market crashed. So be careful. Don't buy into the hype. Always sell, buy the rumor, sell the news.
All right, well said. With that being said, thank you all for being here, guys. Thank you so much. Chukrum. Okay, and thank you, ARUT, so much, and Phantom Wallet for organizing it. Crypto family here in Dubai. Thank you, Shihab and company. And thank you all for being here, guys. Thank you so much.